OORacing. I want to run through the starting procedure on all the 4-valve engines from 150 right the way up to 170, how to actually find the right position to start them on. So let's go and give it a go. Now with all the starting, you really want to learn how to find the position first, but always do that with the ignition off. So I'm going to basically show you the position of start. So we've got ignition off at the moment. We've got a lot of compression there, so trying to even think about starting it on the compression stroke is impossible. You'll end up just setting off the shear gears and having to replace them, so that's a no-no. Another thing is, don't open the throttle when you're trying to start it, when it actually comes to firing up. Always just use the idle screw as your choke, and also never use the choke. Wind the idling normally from the last time it was running happily about half a turn from cold starting. So that's the procedure of all the running gear there. So I'm now going to try and find carefully the right point for starting. So if we just turn it over slowly, it's a very, very high comp here. Squeezing just past TDC, you can see it clacks over. Right, we'll do a trial kick without the ignition on, just so you can see how easy it is to move it over. So that's 3 revolutions it's just done there with no effort whatsoever. Okay, so let's find that again. Lock it on TDC. Lock your leg against the tank or something just to give you a bit of support. And we're just going to squeeze it past. It's quite hard to do, but you get the technique after a while. Here we go, she's just going past. Just there. I'm doing this slowly so you can see. Flick the ignition on. And as straightforward as that. But each time you come to start the bike, it's really worth doing the same procedure each time. Try squeeze it just over, as we're doing here. See? That's it, gone. And then if I was brave enough, I'd actually try and do it with my hand. I have done it before, but it is quite nerve-wracking, so I won't do that for this video. Another good point on starting, when the engine's really, really hot, it's actually worth sometimes just turn the idle up another quarter of a turn from the last time it was running, you were happy with it, if it won't start on the first kick. But generally they'll always start first kick, even from cold. Also with fuel, if the fuel's over a month old in the tank or the carburetor, it's really worth draining the carb off, running the fresh fuel through from the tank, and then obviously going and filling up with some fresh juice, because these things need the octane to be as high as possible for them order them to start. So that's another thing. Another important factor with startup is don't rev the engine at all until the oil temperature's got up. They've got to run for about, realistically, a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes on a fast idle. In order for the oil to drop down to around about 80 pounds. These things, I mean, this will run at about 140 pound pressure on initial startup due to the fact they're running 2050 oil. There's not a great risk of blowing a hose off, but it obviously is a risk running those sort of pressures. So if you can let it run for 3 to 5 minutes till you can feel there's a definite temperature in the cooler itself. But also we want to warm the engine up, get the block up to temperature, because it's a Nickel bore and the tolerances are very refined. If you start revving them up and using them from cold straight away, there's a good chance the skirt of the piston is going to literally drop off. So the idea is, if you warm it up, you know, gingerly, let it do its own thing, 5 minutes while you get your helmet, your gloves on, stuff like that, you'll be ready to go after that. This particular engine, we've done nothing to it. It's a standard 23 horse. Same compression ratio as the 27 horse. It's now done 2,182 miles. We've actually got this on a digital one. It's dash, and that's accurate mileage, and it hasn't missed a beat. We've had no issues with it at all, and it starts on the button every time. So if I just run through that once more. So obviously, trying to kick it here, you're just going to break it. You're going to break the kickstart gear or the shear gear, so just don't even think about trying to start it, and you mustn't open the throttle. That's a no-no. So let's squeeze it past with the ignition off. Okay, and then I'll show you how easy it is, just again, look, without the ignition on. You can hear how many turns. It's 3 revolutions every time. So let's do that again. Squeezing past, it is tough to start with, but you get the hang of it. Just over there, and it's quite a positive notch. Keep your pressure on the kickstart there, ignition on. So, but another thing again on startup as well, it's always worth doing what we call a sweep kick, which means you're actually kicking the engine over with the ignition off. So always do like a trial, you know, from the first time you come to run it. So lock it on, squeeze past, as I say. Imagine just doing this just before you come to start it. I've just missed that one, you see, you can miss it. Here we go, I'm just squeezing past again. It can be a bit tricky, but it's the safeguarding the engine we're after. So I always do a sweep kick, you know, from start up. Now that just shows you the actual oil pressure these things are running at. I say that's fairly warm, that cooler. She's probably only about 30 degrees, so we want to get it up to at least 70-80 degrees before that oil pressure will be running at somewhere around about 60 pounds. That's the sort of temperature that I'd be happy to start putting away. As soon as you start revving up, I mean, this thing's going up to around about 80 pounds on normal pressure when she's up to temperature. So that's a must to get it up all the block up to temperature before you start riding off. Otherwise, as I say, you're going to end up with a skirt issue or something like that. Well, I really hope that's been some help, and you'll find it, you know, easy from now on starting all your high compression engines. If you've got any queries about doing it, just call us. It's so simple. Give us a shout or an email, and we can work something out. Okay, so I'm going to fire this up for the last time. Lock it on TDC. Squeeze ignition off. Sorry, get that right. Ignition off. Squeeze it just over. By the way, if you haven't got a kill switch, i.e. you've only got a push button, hold the button in. It's really important because it will try and start just fine in TDC. Okay, ignition on, and I'm on my way home.